Hello, hello. Hi. I'm coming on here today to have another conversation with one of my students from Spirit School. So, yes, you just joined. Let's see. We're going to add Spencer. Today we're going to be having a conversation with Spencer. So we'll go into that. Let's see. Okay, so we can add her. I'm excited. Let's see. Oh my God, yay, it worked.
By the grace of God.
I was like, oh, I hope it works. Hi, it's so nice to see you.
My husband, Grace might regret this.
Why?
With technology, it's touch and go.
I know. I was like, I don't know how to do this, but it worked. It probably easier than Zoom.
Yes, I think that's why.
Oh, it's nice to see you.
You, Grace, you too.
I want to like back up so I can see you better.
Maybe I feel like I need to sit on a phone. Well, maybe I should bring my phone down. I have it stacked on books. Is that better?
Yeah, perfect. Now I can see you.
Okay, good. I was like, oh, I could sit on a book, or I could actually lower the phone.
No, it's good. Good. Okay. I'm excited. Perfect. So, hello. I love your sweater.
Thank you. Thank you. We almost coordinated our colors, Grace, which we used to do.
I was gonna wear pink, but then this was more comfortable.
Yeah. Remember we used to do that, wear the same colors during Spirit School?
I love that. It's like a mind connection.
Exactly.
So basically, I'm just gonna kind of introduce you, and then we'll kind of it's just gonna be kind of casual conversation.
Yeah, perfect. Looking
forward.
So
If you didn't know, I'm Grace. And I do a psychic development class that's called Spirit School, and we're open right now for enrollment. So Spencer took the class with me last year. We've also done some one-on-one work. She's amazing. We met in it's been like 2 years now or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and it was Glow Up with Lauren, I think, was our first class.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know Lauren, she's an amazing healer, psychic practitioner. We did 2 different classes with her. Last year we did a glow up class, which was more focused on business and like creating a spiritual business. So Spencer also does Reiki, and then we did the medium circle. We did the medium circle together. So that was really cool and like a little bit different than the work that we were already doing, because we both do Reiki, both practice Holy Fire Reiki, and then I know you've been doing intuitive work for a long time, so I think it's I don't know how long you've been doing, but I know you play with the cards and all sorts of stuff. So
like years of kind of getting certifications with angel cards, and of course the Reiki certification, the animal Reiki certifications, our development, our psychic development. We've done a lot, Grace, together.
It's been a long few years.
It has.
But also very fast at the same time. Rapid expansion.
I would agree. And thanks to you, it's been extremely powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I just kind of wanted to talk to you casually just about your experience taking the class, if you have anything you want to share with people. And then I just like to talk to you about like your practice and kind of what you're doing with the horses and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to take time just to briefly say who you are, where you're located, that kind of thing.
Well, again, Spencer Catani, and I live outside of Boston. Grace and I, like we said, have done some classes together. I am a Reiki practitioner. I do also teach horseback riding, and I've kind of expanded that to include mindfulness and Reiki healing with the animals and the rider. And Grace, working with Grace, helped me kind of develop that program, which is still evolving. But Spirit School specifically, Actually, it was very profound because Grace is so knowledgeable and she covered so many areas and she organized it in a way that was very approachable. But we worked on our developing our clairs, breath work, affirmations, healing meditation, journaling. And it went very, very deep. And it's actually work I can keep going back to for years, honestly. It covered so much. We all said what we did in 6 weeks, we could have probably covered, we could have made a year class of it. There was so much material, but the way Grace presented it was very manageable. And I have these weekly Padlets that I go back to. And like today, Grace, I did the inner ear journey, which every time I do it, I'm just blown away by how powerful it is and how it speaks to me in that moment. And again, the exercises you do to develop your clairs are, you can always go deeper with those. The breath work is, all these things are life skills. And especially, if you're interested in your spiritual gifts, you're always going to be able to refer back to this material and go deeper with it. And Grace is just so fun to work with.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes me happy to know you're still using the meditations. I mean, I use them myself.
I go back constantly to a lot of them, but no, it's like I have a library of information that I can keep going back to. And I know specifically like, oh, hey, I could really use this today, or I could really work on this. I want to work on my third eye. And so it's just, it's in the way you presented it is so easy for me to have access to it. And you made it very accessible, Grace. I mean, Spirit School, when we did it, was a very wide range of students. Everyone had a different level of comfort with it. And yet you made everybody comfortable. I remember we worked with Giselle and how fun that was. And it was just a great group. Everyone was willing to make themselves a little uncomfortable to participate.
Oh, yeah. And then we did the medium circle after that because Giselle was in that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
You're in my medium. So many things. I forgot about that. Yeah, so that's more, and I think that's been cool to do that because it's more like practice. So I think, and I've gotten some feedback from some of the people who've taken the class that some practice will be good. So I kind of extended, now it's 8 weeks. So the last few weeks is going to be more like practice focus at the last couple weeks. Once people get all the knowledge and then like.
Oh, that's a good idea.
More, like lecture information, get that stuff out of the way, and then they can start practicing like some of the exercises that we did. We did a couple in class, but like very short. So I'm adding more of that into it.
Yeah, very confirming of it because we were doing a lot of telepathy, and it was very again, it was something that just sort of built your confidence in the process. And people felt very comfortable sharing because it is personal. This work is very personal. And on the other piece I loved about class, and I'm sure everyone would agree, is Grace does amazing card readings. So not only does she present this material that's so effective, but then she does these card readings, which always have very specific messages for people. And I still go back and look at those, and I'm always, again, amazed at how much guidance we got from the card readings.
Yeah, and I think it's been so cool to see how like, okay, everyone's in different places, both like literally and like,
yes,
with the work that they're doing, and the readings are all kind of like really showing and proving to me how much the collective is like, we're all kind of doing something at the same time. So like you might be receiving this one message, but it means something to someone else. So that's always exciting for me to see like the connections between people that we don't know each other, but we really we do know each other.
Thinking, oh, actually, we go way back.
Lifetime.
Yes. Yes, the connections, and also a very different way of spending time with people, and speaking a little different language, which again, it's the community around spiritual growth, and whether you're pursuing a profession in spiritual healing or whether it's personal, it's Grace, you've created community, and
Thank you.
that's so important because these are experiences you want to share with people. You want to be around other people who speak this language, and I think you've done a great job creating a community. And also, like, think about how Melissa is someone that we're still very close to, and like that circle just keeps expanding and growing.
Yeah, and it's so cool for me to see what people like. Not, I mean, not everyone, like you said, not everyone that takes the class is like doing this as a job, but it's
Right.
so cool to see how this influences whatever they're doing now and just in their own like daily life to have some kind of place to feel comfortable sharing stuff. Because a lot of times, like, I know we've talked about this, but a lot of times, like, people in your life are like, it's not like they don't like it, but they don't understand. They don't want to have a conversation about
Remember we were
energy
talking,
centers or whatever.
yeah, we were one class, we were talking about beings that live under the earth, I remember. And we thought, well, this is a very unique conversation to us. And you're right, it's not a conversation you're probably going to have on a typical day. And yet you can take pieces of the conversations and share them with people you're close to, just to help open people up to these experiences. Which
Yeah.
I've introduced a good friend to you, and she really was impacted by that experience. So I do think it's a way of kind of,
Oh yeah, I got to do the Reiki for your friend. That was
yeah,
really nice.
it
Yeah.
was great. And when I heard about it, I was like, oh wow, you got so specific with her. And so I love that. I love sharing, introducing other people to you, and what you do. And I said, hey, keep that meditation because you can always go back to it, as a Reiki healing meditation.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what's so cool is to see that like you're actually utilizing the tools because it's like, okay, I can create this library of material and give you these journal prompts. But if you're not actually actively using the stuff, it's not like you're going to see a big shift. It's just if you listen to something once, yeah, it might be impactful, but the more that you utilize the tools, whether they're mine or you say, oh, I like this style of meditation that I
Yeah,
learned in the class that I can do on my own. It's like you got to keep going back and back to really see the benefits.
I agree with that, Grace. And I do it all the time, all the time. Plus now, I think you also made me comfortable with sort of the next step, which is, we went through a process of how to set it up to just sit quietly and then trust the messages you get. And that's sort of like the next step was like, okay, trust what you're getting in stillness. And I remember your Hatsure Ho meditation that we do daily. That's a part of my daily routine now. I always start my day with that. And
Amazing.
sitting quietly has become something that is where I tend to get the deepest messages. But you kind of got me to a place where I was comfortable doing that. You have to be like comfortable sitting quietly.
Yeah, it takes a while to get there. And I think like
Yeah,
it's really good when you're first starting any kind of spiritual practice, but like specifically meditation, like to have guided meditations
right,
because otherwise, at least for me, when I first started, it's like I would get so distracted or a lot of fear would come up in me and I'd be like, I don't want to know about this. It's too
right,
scary. So to have something where it's like someone's walking you through it or even sound, I think is so helpful. But then getting to the point where you can actually listen.
right. Exactly. It kind of prepared.
It takes a while.
It takes a while. And you really encourage me to connect with the cards, and that's a part of my daily practice. And inevitably, the thread, what came up when you were quiet, and then you pull a card, and it essentially elaborates on what came up when you were quiet. And you're like, okay, so this is really clear what you're telling me, what the message is today. And so you can really build up a very direct connection with your guides through these tools. And, you write a few things down like you recommended, then you go back and you read and you see, oh my goodness, like how clear the messages are.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool about like learning this process. It's like, okay, me, I'm the psychic. Someone can come get a reading from me, but it's not my information. I'm just tapping into your guides or source or whatever you want to call it, God, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like once you can teach someone to do that process for themselves, it's like they can get the same exact message I'm going to tell you. It's just going to be worded differently because it goes through my brain how I would speak,
Right.
But it's not like I'm telling you what to do. It's like I'm just a translator essentially.
Right. And you give people the tools to get confident going direct and getting their message and trusting what they get, because that's a big deal. That takes a long time too.
Yeah.
To not be dependent, like not looking to someone else because you don't trust what you get. And then you start to understand, oh, hey, I can sit quietly and get these messages. Or you start to see the numbers, the birds, the feathers, and you start to understand what that is. And it really,
like a language for them to communicate with us. It's like,
yes.
So sometimes it's so subtle, so it's easy for us to overlook it.
Exactly. It's quite a process, honestly.
Well, I'm very proud of all the work you've done.
You have challenged me, Grace. You have, and in a really positive way, a very positive way.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool to see, like, when I first met you, like, you're doing Pilates and stuff like that. So it's like you have a knowledge of teaching, working with people and their bodies. It's like you have all that prior knowledge, and that can really, like, lend you an understanding of how things work once you get, when you're using it more of, like, the energy field. It's like, it's the same thing. It's just a different layer of it. So, and then the animals, it's like a whole nother
so a cool thing
realm.
about what happened with the animals is that through the barn, where I obviously am around the animals all the time, I started working with a dog that had been abandoned. She was 2 years old. She had puppies. And I learned all that through the Reiki, which was confirmed by her owner. But very nervous dog, very gray at a premature age. And she has had a profound experience with her owner's a vet, which makes it really meaningful because she obviously does traditional type healing.
Yeah.
And she has sat and watched her dog receive Reiki, and then she sees how the dog behaves, how much calmer the dog is, how much it settled her down, and she's even less gray, which is hysterical. But understanding how the trauma that a dog who's been abandoned and how the Reiki can help heal that trauma, and then actually seeing this dog more comfortable in her skin is really, for me, inspiring.
I was just like thinking this sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, right? No, exactly. I mean,
a mirror reflection.
Exactly. And when I talk to the dog, I will say, like, hey, I get it, like the trauma. And it is exactly right. It's the mirror. So this dog has kind of encouraged me to focus on rescue animals because they do have so much trauma.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And how they seeing how this dog receives it has been really inspiring for me. And her owner just can't get over it, can't get over the difference. So these are the things that doing this work will open up for you that you can't even really imagine until you start.
Yeah, to be like, oh, I'm doing an energy healing on animals, like to think that that's going to be your job.
No, and actually I went to card reader probably 3 years ago, and she told me that, and I oh, okay, but I don't really see that. Like, I just couldn't imagine it. And then as this has progressed, I'm like, well, and here I am. But you have to
Yeah.
develop the confidence, and that was a big part of my healing, is developing confidence around it. So, yeah, I mean, we've had many conversations around that, what this looks like working with animals. I have a group of older women who come who are doing healing with animals. And, it's undeniable that what's happening.
Yeah, and it's like
That,
I think it's so cool because it can evolve in so many ways.
yeah,
Like being able to trust yourself and your intuition, I feel like it can guide you in places that, yeah, you wouldn't think that it's like a logical or a good idea, but then you find yourself there and you're so happy. So,
yeah, it's true. If you just, let it happen. Yeah, that's kind of how it's gone. And, I would say COVID was a big part of that. I would have been working with people if it hadn't been for COVID, and that put me more in the barn versus a studio, and more and
yeah, and
more.
just time to like be in inside.
Exactly. Um, and so, I'm excited. I've actually cut back in other areas to make more time for this, and that feels really good to kind of have the
Is your website up, Miss Spencer?
my website is up. My
Can
website
you plug your website so they can check it out? What is it called?
heals
Oh,
dot
you cut out for a second.
Oh, it's Reiki Heals .love.
Awesome, amazing. So I'll put that in the comments so if people want to check it out.
Okay.
So yeah, that's amazing. And I think it's so cool about something like energy healing and Reiki. I mean, even readings, but specifically doing healing, it's like I'm going to go and do this work, or you're going to work on an animal or a person, but you yourself are also receiving the healing energy. So it's like every time we are working, we're technically like really working on ourselves.
Grace, I couldn't agree more. I'm really noticing how nice it is to be in the Reiki flow a good part of the day. I'm like, okay, so a real upside to this is how much you're spending in Reiki energy, and how much that carries over into your day, whether you're doing a healing or just keeps you in that elevated energy. And that, of course, is very, what really compares to that, that you can.
Yeah. I think it's like the silence too, like when I used to do facials and stuff, it was like the most beneficial for me because it's like I'm just in silence for like an hour. So I feel like I would get so much healing from just that. So like the same thing with doing a healing. It's like, I mean, me, I can talk a lot. There's a lot of stuff to say, but like when you go to see someone for Reiki, typically you're like quiet for at least 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And I feel like as a practitioner, you can get so much information about what you're doing for your client if you're actually silent. You're like, oh, okay, like I feel where the energy is flowing. I can identify what that symbolizes to me, maybe what that might mean for the person. I feel like you can really build up psychic knowledge through that.
Yes,
So I feel like it's really, even if people aren't necessarily like wanting to be Reiki practitioners, I feel like it's a really good process. Any kind of energy healing, I think, is a great process for people to open their intuitive gifts up because it's like the silence, and then it really opens up like these centers within us where at first it might feel, oh, it's moving a little bit, it feels good, it feels relaxing, but like the more you practice, the more it strengthens, and you can really feel and see the effects of like the work you're doing, like on yourself and in the world, which
it's
is
really,
so cool.
and how you share, like you really feel the shifting within yourself. And then I noticed the ripple effect with, starts with your friends and family, and then it kind of, evolves from there. And I think that's the other thing that you must really get so much satisfaction out of, seeing how it helps your clients. I've seen dramatic changes in people I'm close to, just
Me
because
too.
I'd have opened the door and been like, hey, and like dramatic changes. And so, I mean, that's like very, makes me really happy to see that, if people are just open to it, they can see their life change in ways they couldn't imagine. I've seen it happen to my daughter, even my 80-year-old mother, my best friend. And so, that's very, very, I would say, that's a big part of the work, is the ripple effect of it.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, we're not, well, sometimes I'll directly send energy to family if they ask me, but it's more like the more that I myself, like other people around me can see, like, oh, that's okay. Like I got to do a reading on my grandma. I think I told you this maybe. That she was like Catholic, older woman. We like did a mediumship reading. Nothing I would ever think she would ever be into.
Yeah.
So that's really cool to
And
see.
oh,
It was great. My great grandfather, so her father, came through and had some messages, and like I didn't know him, so it's hard for me to know like, oh, this is legit, like this is something he would say. So it was great to get that confirmation from her because she actually knows him.
yeah.
Like, because he's come through a lot in my mediumship practice, but I didn't know him in my adult life. I think I was like 1 or 2 when he passed away. So it's really cool to see that confirmation from people that like had a relationship with him.
It's very
And like one of the messages was this, like he was like saying he comes through as a cardinal bird, and she was like, "Oh, I see a cardinal on my window every day," and that made me so happy
Oh,
because
exactly.
she like lives at like an assisted living facility, but because of COVID, she was just inside for like
Yeah.
months. Like they just brought food to her. So I guess he was visiting her then the whole time, which made me
Yeah,
really
exactly.
happy.
Point that you can tune people into that. That's the kind of stuff I get all the time. Like, oh, all of a sudden they start seeing their totem animal, or they notice number, like those signs they start to notice. And
And I
so,
think that can really open people up because it's like a physical confirmation. Like
yeah,
in a meditation, if you just have a thought or something, you can really push that away and be like, oh, that's just my mind thinking things. But if you're like seeing the
like,
same bird every day, like circling around, or like the angel numbers and stuff, it's like
uh,
becomes very obvious.
I have to tell you, my daughter just joined, Elizabeth, which is funny, because when I talk about go mom, she's saying, when I talk about the ripple effect, my daughters and my mom and I did Reiki all during COVID. It was a way we stayed connected. And the cards always blew us away, always spot on. Both my daughters have made big changes in their life. My younger daughter, I think a lot because of what she's learned through this, stepped away from her profession, totally went on a different path, took a lot of risks in life to get there. And just this is her 28th birthday weekend. Everything that she wanted to manifest in those 2 years has happened. And she had to take a lot of risks to do it. And she goes to Archangel Michael, like she has her tools, her meditation. And I would say my older daughter has manifested. So I'm watching my daughters um, integrate this into their daily life, and not because I'm telling them. They have their own ways of doing it that's specific to them, but I can tell you Reiki put them on that path.
Yeah, I think it really is like it's like Reiki or energy healing, like it's just an opening door, I feel like, because it's something that we can already do, but it's just like we need to do this little adjustment essentially, which is like the attunement process, the ignition process, and
Right.
then anyone can do it.
And then anyone can receive it. So, I mean, how great is
Yeah,
that?
yeah, amazing. Well, anything else you want to say about spirit school? I had some questions. Let me look at them.
Okay. My kids probably don't know I have an advanced degree in spirit school. You know, I'm pretty modest about this. Kidding.
Yeah, a what is it called? A master's degree.
My PhD in spirit school.
Yeah, like I mean, you definitely talked about some of the questions I was gonna ask, just about like what um tools and stuff you are continuing to work with. So we kind of talked about the meditations, and we just talked about Reiki. Reiki is, I don't teach Reiki in spirit school, but we do utilize energy healing. I do like group healings for everyone every week for the live classes. Um, but we do talk about energy healing, not specifically Reiki, but I would be curious just to hear about your experience with the group healings versus one-on-one, because I know we've done one-on-one work. Like, do you feel the same effect of the energy when it's flowing to multiple people as you would with just one person?
So the thing I liked about the group classes, obviously, like the one-on-one was very uh, specific to me and really worked on my personal stuff. But the group stuff is where you kind of have to step out of your comfort zone a little and share what you're getting, and sharing, like, when we do the exercises about I think the ones were like, what colors are we seeing? Or maybe we brought pictures. I forget exactly how we shared it in spirit school. But then you're really having to trust the people in your group. And that's when you start um, starting to share your messages, and that's also where you build your confidence. And we're always very supportive of each other, but we're also kind of amazed by each other too. Like, I remember thinking I didn't even understand I could do this until I sat in your class, and I would be getting certain things, and you'd be like, yeah, actually I was seeing that too. And I'd be like, oh my God. Like, so those group classes are really positive for validation,
Yeah.
and your confidence, and like we said, building a community. You really understand that we're all wired for this, and we might all receive differently, which is also really interesting in a group class, to kind of see how other people receive their messages. But and also, like, I just, making all of us comfortable with that. And that's why you gave us so much information about the clairs, because maybe one person is more open with their third eye, but someone else might be clairsentient. And so you make sure each one of us gets to develop the area that maybe comes most naturally to us. And the breath works, like we said, that's a lifelong skill. And you gave us boundary breath work and so many different exercises around the breath, and the journaling. Like, it all kind of just, and also just, Grace, I would just say the way you presented it, because it's a lot of material and it can be really complex, but you presented it in a way that was very accessible and relatable. And I think that's another really exciting thing for anybody who's interested in this. They're not going to be disappointed. They're going to be really excited about what's out there, because there's so much depth to it.
Yeah, well, did you think that you would be connecting with aliens?
No, I did not foresee that happening. And, and you gave me my Palladian star seed activation, which I go back to all the time, and is very, like, powerful. So no, again, like, these are conversations you aren't typically having, or experiences you're not typically having, but they become, I would say it's just opens you up to things you didn't even know were possible.
Yeah, and I think that's what's like my intention. So I appreciate that very much, because that's what my intention is, to make it something approachable. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we could talk about aliens or angels or yeah, like the holographic universe, multi dimensions, all this crazy stuff. But if it's not like bringing us anything in our daily life, it's not really important. So I think it's cool to learn these things and then see how we can incorporate this into normal human life stuff.
And I love that you always bring it back to that. Like, people could get very addicted to looking at past lives, but really we're in the present moment. So it's really about, what are we working? We're here in this moment, healing what we should be like focusing on what we're here to heal, and not get too distracted by, you know, putting yourself maybe energetically someplace else. You learn
Yeah,
things.
it's like all about calling all those pieces of ourselves back.
Right,
Because
exactly.
it's like I could learn about, oh, when I was this alien or whatever, that is interesting. But what I really want is like the skill or the knowledge that I had at that time so I can use it now. Not like the story is not as important. It's interesting, but
Right.
you don't really need to know, like, oh, I was once this man and I lived here and I had a divorce, whatever happened.
Right, right. You definitely always, Grace, bring it back to the present moment. How is this going to help me understand myself? How is this going to help me in my healing? How is this might show you a gift you have that you disconnected from. A lot of us have been persecuted or been afraid to show these gifts. And so you are basically helping people reconnect in a way and not be afraid. Those are really important things, because I didn't know these things about myself, and still I started to have these experiences. I thought they were experiences other people had. Um,
Yeah, it's like anyone could do it. It's like just
yes,
clearing off the doubt or whatever, the
yeah,
fear too.
understanding it, like understanding that you just have to step out of your conventional thinking to understand that this is available to everybody.
Yeah, and I love like the idea of like people thinking, oh, this is like supernatural or whatever, but I think of it as like supernatural, like two
Yeah,
words. Like
accurate.
this is just the natural state of humans. Like we can all connect just sending frequencies to our mind and telepathy and all that stuff. It's just like practice. And then the actual turning off stuff and being quiet so you can listen.
Listen, yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, but then that gets really, you want more and more of that.
Yeah, so interesting. Well, thank you for talking with me, Spencer. It's so nice to see you.
Ace, we could talk all day.
I know. Well, the video cuts off after an hour, so
Oh, okay. And we would just be talking
just talking into the void.
about right.
But amazing. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you before we leave. I don't think so. Just anything else you want to share?
I would just really encourage anyone to enroll in this class. It's going to be so much more than they expect, and it's. I just hope that people, take the risk and do it, because it's incredibly mind-blowing experience.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Yeah, and the people who have signed up so far are really cool. So you guys will get to hang out with them too. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I get to see you next week.
I know, Grace. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking
Also,
forward.
your skin looks really good.
Great. That's Thank you for saying that, because very rarely, what do I look at FaceTime or Zoom and think, wow, my skin looks really good.
Well, maybe it's because I usually see you on Zoom and the quality's not as good, so now I can
Well,
actually see your face.
I did think I'll do this for Grace, but I'm gonna have to look at my forehead, and I'm only gonna do this for Grace. But I'm glad you think it's okay, because you specialize in skincare.
Yeah, no, your skin looks great.
Well, that is cute.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me. For those who watched, we appreciate it. I'm gonna save this video so people can watch it later. And then I'm gonna tag you, Spencer. I'll put your website if people want to check it out in the comments. Well, thank you, and I will see you soon.
And I'll see you soon.
Bye.